She can't stop. She can't stop her from making it. There's nothing you
Some
can do.
chamomile tea over there that might settle it down. Of course, problem is it might put you to sleep. You're welcome. Mr. Jackson, in the latter portion of 1993, there were some allegations leveled at you concerning improper conduct with some young boys. I assume you're familiar with the fact that those allegations were raised. Is that right?
Yes.
In fact, there was ultimately at least 2 grand jury inquiries into that I am currently aware of, although counsel tells me there may have been a third. Were you aware that grand jury investigations were conducted into those allegations?
Yes.
Did you know at the time that the grand jury was investigating these matters that they were in fact investigating? In other words, you didn't find out after it had completed. You knew in advance that people were being subpoenaed to testify.
In advance?
Yeah, poorly phrased. Let me rephrase it. It is my understanding that some of Neverland Valley Ranch employees were subpoenaed to testify before the grand jury. Do you know that to be the case as well?
Yes.
Are you familiar with a person named Jordy Chandler?
We're not going there. Don't answer. We're not going to get into who he knows and doesn't know. If you want to ask a question, go ahead and ask it. But I believe it's beyond the scope of discoverable matters in the case.
Whether he knows of Jordy Chandler?
Right.
You're not going to allow me to ask him any questions about Jordan Chandler in any fashion?
Well, we'll take them one by one, but...
Well, I can't ask him whether he knows him. I suppose that would sort of preclude other ones, don't you think?
Yeah, probably would.
And may I ask, for the record, what the basis upon which you are going to refuse to allow this witness to disclose whether he knows Mr. Jordan Chandler? As you know, counsel, during the course of discovery in this case, you have already gone into, and I think Mr. Sanger has already gone into, at some depth, a deposition that was taken in the case of Jordy Chandler versus Michael Jackson, given by Adrian McManus. There are issues that are certainly relevant to my interest as to why you inquired as to those depositions that Adrian gave. And you're now telling me I can't even ask whether he knows the man or go into any such areas?
Yeah, let me
Isn't there
cover
a
that.
quote that comes to mind of what's good for the goose is good for the gander?
Oh, come on, counsel.
What,
Aesop's fame.
Let me just make sure my understanding is clear. Is it your position that you will instruct Mr. Jackson not to answer any questions that pertain to the issue of Jordy Chandler in any way, whether it be claims leveled by Jordy Chandler, if any, or discovery in the Jordy Chandler case vis-a-vis Adrian McManus's deposition and allegations that she testified falsely? Any of that you're not going to let him go into?
That's right. I believe that's correct. With respect to the motivations that are, in your view, germane to the allegations made in the complaint, my client has testified that he knows nothing about those matters that you want to explore his motivations on. So therefore, there's a lack of foundation. But let's just go do what you want to do.
You've raised something that sort of catches me by surprise. You say your client has testified that he knows nothing about these matters. Is this at today's deposition you're referring to, or some other deposition that I was not present at?
Today.
That is strange, since I have not asked about that issue until just now. I have not asked about the allegations specifically. I have asked about investigation. Were you aware that Jordan Chandler or his family on his behalf filed a lawsuit against you?
Yes.
Okay. Were you aware that at some point in time in that lawsuit, Adrian McManus gave her deposition?
I'm not positive.
Your answer confuses me. How do you mean you're not positive? You don't know whether she gave her deposition or not?
Exactly.
So then, if I understand it correctly, you are not going to allow me to go into any areas in connection with Brett Barnes. Is that right?
Well, you can ask. There's nothing I can think of, but if you... I'm not going to categorically say you can't ask anything about him, but I don't think there's anything relevant. So irrelevant that I'm not inclined to let you get into it unless there's an area that you believe is directly tied to the case.
Well, I believe it, but I have a feeling that my believing it's not going to convince you of much. To your knowledge, Mr. Jackson, were you ever accused of having sexually molested Brett Barnes?
Won't answer that.
Do you know a person by the name of Macaulay Culkin?
Yes.
No.
Get your answer.
So you're going to let him answer questions about Macaulay Culkin?
Let him answer that one.
To your knowledge, were you ever accused of having sexually molested Macaulay?
That's an instruction not to answer on that one.
This is as good a copy of the document as I have available to me at this time. Let me ask you this. Do you recognize the handwriting on these two sheets?
Yes.
Do you know whose handwriting it is?
It's mine.
Do you know what these documents are?
Yeah.
What is this?
Crazy stories that people have created. Things I wanted to set straight in an interview.
Do you know with whom this interview was?
I think it could have been Diane Sawyer, whatever the interview was that I wanted to do. I wanted to set the record straight, that if people hear a lie long enough, people believe it, that people have lied on me. I'm a black American and I'm proud of it, and I'm honored of it. The bleach skin rumor, which is a rumor, I don't bleach my skin. They once said I wanted a white kid to play me as a child, which was a rumor. Inauguration rumor, saying I didn't want to do President Clinton's inauguration. I'm not gay. This says, don't judge a person unless you have spoken to them one-on-one, which is true. Because what you hear is a lie, untrue. I can't make out this part there.
It is illegible in portions, that's true.
And Jesus said to love the children and be like children. Be youthful and be innocent and be pure and honorable. He was talking to his apostles, and they were fighting over who's the greatest among themselves. And he said, whoever humbled yourself like this child is the greatest among me. And he always surrounded himself with children. And that's how I was raised, to believe and to be like that and to imitate that. So I don't know what you're trying to make out of it. I made a list of things. When I get angry enough, I write down what I want to say and what I want to talk about to set the record straight. Because you get to a point where you get tired of people lying. I get tired of situations like this, where people completely lie on me, and I'm sick of it.
The video operator, we're off the record. I have the conclusion, 411.